We're going to go ahead and transition right into our next panel. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Harris. I'm an assistant professor in the counselor education program in the Curry School of Education here at UVA. And in a moment, we'll have three of our panelists join us here on the stage. The topic for our next panel is entitled Community Initiatives Supporting Youth of Color. And so each panelist, there will be three of them, will highlight how they've been working in local communities to support the positive youth development of young people. I'm going to get started with our first speaker, who is Sarad Davenport. And Sarad is currently serving as the director of the City of Promise in Charlottesville, where he and a team of neighbors, officials, and partners are building a cradle to college and career pathway for young people. He, along with key stakeholders and partners, have formally enrolled more than 200 people into the City of Promise, which includes parent education classes, individual coaching, after-school programming, connection to needed resources, and community activities that build leadership and engagement. The title of Mr. Davenport's presentation is Changing the Ecosystem to Support Youth of Color, the Promise Neighborhood Initiative. Join me in welcoming Sarad Davenport.
First of all, very honored to be able to present today, and thank you to Dr. Harris for introducing me. And a wonderful presentation by our friend Leon Andrews. Wasn't that wonderful? We learned a lot. Yeah. Before I even start, I was sitting there thinking about, Mr. Andrews, his presentation just threw me way off guard, and I will admit that I've been sick and tired for a long time. So the context of much that I do is behind this framework of being sick and tired. I know two of my next door neighbors over the course of my lifetime were murdered. Many of my family members struggle with substance abuse and all types of health issues related to poverty and, as we've known today, structural racism. My family has origins in the community here in Charlottesville, which is called Vinegar Hill, which was affected by urban renewal and displacement. And most of them, when they were displaced from Vinegar Hill, went to what is called West Haven, which is the oldest and largest public housing community in Charlottesville. And that's where I have my own roots. I came back to Charlottesville from DC, working in Ward 8 in Southeast for the Knowledge is Power program, or KIP, which many of you may be familiar. So I just thought I'd offer that context before we go into the slides of the presentation. What you'll see here, all the pictures you'll see in this presentation are real kids, real young people of color. And I see them every day. Some of them I seen yesterday. And I think that's, important to make sure that the work that we do recognizes that we're talking about human beings. I know that you'll find later that I'm very data driven, but I do understand that the work that we're doing is a very human work. And these are young men, and there's a young lady there that are very capable. And I think that we also have to remember some of the images and the presentation of our young people often has a deficit-based approach. And our approach needs to be more asset-based, because I see brilliance every day. And I would say that many of my friends and peers that I grew up with died or went into the criminal justice system not because they were not capable. In fact, some of them were far brighter than I, but they didn't have a community that connected the resources appropriately such that they could live fulfilled lives. The City of Promise is a Promise neighborhood. It is modeled loosely after the Harlem Children's Zone. Charlottesville was fortunate enough to receive a Department of Education planning grant when the Promise neighborhoods came about. And as mentioned before, it is designed to produce a continuum of solutions, working with young people in the 10th and Page, West Haven, and Star Hill communities in Charlottesville. Our demography broadly is about 25 blocks and 1,000 neighbors. About 2/5 of those neighbors are children. a little bit more about the demography is that for the city of Charlottesville is roughly 18 to 19% Black and 67% white, but in the Promise neighborhood in Charlottesville, they're 67%, 64% Black and 27% white. And what has been a focus of the Promise neighborhoods here lately is to make sure that we're very much so inclusive of the people who identify as Hispanic and Latino in our demographics, and it's about 4% in the Promise neighborhood. So I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledged our hermanos y hermanas in the presentation. We have 3 basic goals in the City of Promise kind of ecosystem of our work. We expect students to have an academic achievement goal, a positive youth development goal, and all of these terms and concepts are, everyone knows them, and so I'm not telling you anything new. And then healthy development. So we define healthy development a little bit broadly, not just individually, but also community health and vibrancy within the community such that it is safe and all of those factors. In fact, we had a conference call with the rest of the Promise neighborhoods throughout the country during the Ferguson event, and I want to say during because it's kind of still present, but around how communities feel safe even with police presence. So we've had conversations about community health with regards to that, and so to talk around those issues also. I'll move right along. One of the things that's critical to our work is parent empowerment. Over the course of the time we've been an initiative, we've had over 4 cohorts of parent empowerment. You know, if you say education, a lot of times people use the term education, and education implies that there is a deficit. And so when you say education, that means that you're going to make some type of deposit, and you don't necessarily acknowledge the assets that are already available. So I personally like to use the term empowerment. So we're kind of helping them to further develop the skills that they already have. So we've had impact with more than 26 parents, 47 children. These are some of the parents, and we have great parents. We have great children. I tell people that all the time. One of the other things that we've implemented is the STEAM after-school program in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. This year, it's really innovative. We have engineering students from the University of Virginia working with our students. They've done aerodynamics. They have done aerospace. They've done bridge building. So they're doing real activities. It's a computer lab. So there are lots of opportunities for kids to build on the skills that they're learning in school, but also to extend them during the out of school hours. It's not always up, and some of the neighbors are probably here today. They'll tell me that the network is down. But one of the mandates of the Promise neighborhood or the priorities was a comprehensive Wi-Fi network because of the digital divide, and the access to the internet is an equity issue, if some people don't know. And I always tell people that to have access to the internet in these days and time is the equivalent of having a toilet in your home. Our students, when they go to the high school, receive a tablet from the high school, and it doesn't make any sense if they have a tablet if they get home and they cannot use it and make the school to home connection. So we are very excited and happy about this Wi-Fi network that helps the 127 units in the public housing neighborhood that we work in for these young people. And equity is always this thing about equity. Why are you giving free Wi-Fi? People get mad about free stuff sometimes, but as we learned from Leon Slob, that equity may mean really just making things equitable, right? And so if these kids don't have an opportunity from the beginning, then they're going to get behind, and we're going to have all types of community issues later. So we feel like this is critical, and we don't see this as an issue, being that is a Wi-Fi network up. We have a pathway coaching program, which is our comprehensive this is more high touch. So students that are can use more support and use a guide, or I call it a mentor on steroids. That's what I call it. And the Pathway Coaching Program, they're given a GPS game plan for success, and they develop it to ensure that the family succeeds and the children are successful. These are some of our young people from a summer program with one of our partners, the Bridge Progressive Arts Initiative. They created a park guide. It is phenomenal. I mean, I can't wait until it gets published more widely, but they did a park guide, a teen guide to public parks in Charlottesville. So not only are they doing art, but they're doing advocacy, and it's a brilliant, beautiful project. So these were them at the summer program. And the young lady in the front is actually, she's a second-year college student. When the City of Promise initially arrived, she was one of our first students. She was an initial member of our founding youth council, but now she worked as an AmeriCorps representative in the community, being a mentor, guiding some of these other young ladies that are coming behind her. So we're doing much of that, kind of cross-generational work in that way also. We primarily work with middle and high school students through the coaching program, but we've now added what is called the Check and Connect program, which is for school engagement for K through 6 children. We all know that children drop out mentally before they drop out physically. So we're trying to make sure that students are engaged in school, and how students get school engagement is not just kind of going to school, but that they have the supports they need so that they can be successful in school. Kids often leave school because they don't feel like they can be successful in school. So we're trying to surround them with those types of supports. Trying to move fast and, be mindful of time. But this is something from, this is a communities in school model, which we follow very closely. And there's a book called The Last Dropout, which many of you may have read. But as Leon's slides also show, I was like, man, he's giving my presentation. But the child is at the center. Right. And as our staff job is our job as an initiative to either develop a team around this child or join the team around this child, and to also recognize those natural mentors or whoever are already there. Now, if students need mentors, then we can make sure we have partners that can provide that also. But it's to develop this team around this child that they can be successful, because we know kind of like the old cliche that it takes a village to raise a child, but it really does. And none of us have arrived at our place even today as professionals without having some people to support us along the way. A few of our youth development ecosystem partners, Lighthouse Studios. I know we talked about youth activism or youth participation, and I mean, you can do that in all types of ways, right? And our youth produced this award-winning video. It won the best student documentary in the state of Virginia. They created a video about, I mentioned the parks, but they created a video about food and restaurants that will not deliver to the community, right? And they did a wonderful job of making it really plain. It's very serious. It's an issue-driven documentary, but it's also ends up being kind of funny, because it's like, how silly is it not to deliver to this community? So it's called Food Deliveries in West Haven. And we had precedent. We're working with some of our ecosystem partners, Lighthouse Studios, and also Miss Rosia Parker, who's a neighbor in the community. Her son did a documentary with Lighthouse Studios about, he's a fashion designer, so he did a documentary before with Lighthouse Studios. But also you'll see Big Brothers Big Sisters for those formalized relationships. Our teenage population has complimentary enrollment to Boys and Girls Club. We have some students that go to Computers for Kids, and we have this big arts mentoring program with the University of Virginia students. We have the health and wellness ecosystem. You'll see some of the partners. We've got this garden in the community. One of our big partners is City Schoolyard Gardens. They received a USDA grant, which we're a part of, and we're just talking about food systems and how health and wellness relate to community. I went to a presentation recently, and they said in some communities there's 2 things that you need in the community for it to be identified as a community, and one is a doctor and one is a garden. Some of you may be familiar with that context. I think it's in the Jewish community, a doctor and a garden. And now we have a garden, and our kids are out there helping. We're going to be doing some food justice work with the Black Law Student Association at the University of Virginia. And those students are going to meet with them in a couple weeks to begin to develop arguments around food justice and security and things of that nature as it relates to our part of the USDA grant with City Schoolyard Gardens. So these are just some of the things that we've done. We work in data systems. We have a longitudinal data system called ETO, Efforts to Outcomes, with Social Solutions, so that we can track our data longitudinally. I'm a data geek. I believe it not only needs to feel good, but it needs to be good. So we also use a more comprehensive data system to measure collective impact and trends over time, which is called results-based leadership. And this is our scorecard. It not only measures self-report. We're getting ready to do another comprehensive needs assessment, which was a big term for like survey. We're getting ready to do that, and this will measure our self-report data, but it also will kind of do segmentation analysis of our school data, our data from police department, social services, and things like that. We do 2 evaluations per year, 2 formal evaluations, which measure all of that comprehensive data to see kind of how we're doing in the picture that we're building with regards to collective impact with our partners. One of my favorite pictures, one of our staff members, she's here today, Ms. Latar, and one of her students, Destiny. Destiny said that City of Promise was different because it seemed like Latar was not going to stop until she got me where she wanted to be. So we have that mentality, that whatever it takes mentality. We're like, we know you can do it. We're going to believe in you, and we're going to stand right there with you. If we make mistakes, we're going to apologize. We're going to keep coming back. We're never going to go away. We're going to make sure that you live up to your potential that you're capable of. So that's kind of our mantra, our way. This was a great year for us. We sent 6 students from the neighborhood off away to college. This is them. I do a Walmart trip for all the kids who are going away to college. So these are some of the colleges they're going to. And these kids are not just touched by us. That's why I say it's an ecosystem. There are a lot of things that are going on in Charlottesville. Dr. Harris has a program that one of these kids was in called the MP3 program. There's AVID in the school system. So these kids are getting high touch from all over the community. But what we're saying is that these things are starting to work, and we're starting to see the difference, and we're sending these kids off. And one of these things that I'll stop here is that, you know, when a kid is missing from the community, when they're absent, and everybody recognizes them. And usually the case, people think that they're, I know I came back home from college and people were like, where you been, locked up? You know, I mean, I'm serious. This is true. But when a kid goes away to college, people notice that too. And it changes the whole narrative, the conversation, and the culture of the community. When the conversation is about where is he, where is she, they are away. Not only we say college and career, because some of our kids do post-secondary credentials, but people notice when kids are gone, and it changes the whole culture and the conversation. And this is just, we're just happy to be a part of the ecosystem in Charlottesville, and be the aggregator, the measurer, and the people that are looking at collective impact. So thank you.